This is Heart-repreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart. With your host, Terri Levine. Listen every week as Terri tackles the topics that will help you become a successful heart-centered entrepreneur. Be sure to read the blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog. Come back often and add this show to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heart-repreneur Terri Levine. And now here's Terri.
Hello and welcome to Heart-repreneur Radio and TV with Terri Levine. I am your co-host, Velma Gallant, and I'm excited to be here today. You can connect with Terri, me, and other like-minded heart-based business owners at Heart-repreneurs with Terri Levine on Facebook. And if you like the show, please like the show and subscribe. And we always love those 5-star reviews. Our quote today is, "What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation." Glenn Close. And today's show topic is proven mental health strategies, hope and encouragement for entrepreneurs and business owners. Our special guest this week is Nadene Joy. Nadene is an advisor and mind strategist. She helps leaders, business owners get unstuck, live balanced lives, and build the business of their wildest dreams. She's a certified CMHA psychological health and safety advisor, NLP practitioner, mental health expert, executive coach, professional speaker, and the best-selling author. Nadene is also director on a variety of nonprofit boards, both locally and internationally. Nadene is a member of the International Society for Female Professionals, chair and founder of the Global Lead to Impact Summit, co-founder of a corporate wellness program, and she's been featured in top media outlets today, including USA Today, CBC, iHeartRADIO in New York City, and the Globe and Mail and NBC. Welcome to the show, Nadene.
Thank you so much, Velma.
So we wanted to talk today about mental health, and you know, we picked a show discussion of proven mental health strategies and hope and encouragement for entrepreneurs. So I know you've been passionate about and an advocate about mental health for a really long time. What kind of inspired you to head that direction?
Yeah, from the time I was 4 years old, I always just wanted to help people and make a difference in our world. And I started noticing gaps in certain things with people, organizations, companies, leaders that I was talking to in their mental health. And it all, for me, came back to childhood and things that happened in childhood that, for me, myself, I had to move past in order to become the best leader that I could be and step into that full potential of who I was. So I recognized that in myself first. And then I started recognizing it in the people I was speaking with and the gap that was there. And that there was a really, really huge need and desire for leaders in particular, and anybody for that matter, to really want to become the best versions of themselves they could be. And then that basically came down to, okay, how can we deal with the things from your past that you've repressed or maybe haven't dealt with in some way that might be holding you back? So that's the number one thing that really got me into it. My dad also suffered from depression and was an alcohol and a drug addict and things like that his entire life, and committed suicide 12 years ago. So for me, that was also, having that firsthand experience with somebody who had gone through mental health issues. I just really wanted to help other families and businesses and leaders get past that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know, being an entrepreneur and a business owner, when you're the one that's in charge of your business, it can often feel like a lonely experience or a high pressure experience. It can be, given that, everything is on our shoulders. What are some of the things that we can do as entrepreneurs and business owners to support ourselves with not letting these things weigh ourselves down so heavily?
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that I've came up with for that. And one of them is, making sure that we stay in balance in our life, right? We stay in balance in our work and our family lives. I've came to see over the years that this is one thing, and probably maybe if not the number one thing that causes burnout, that causes increased stress, that causes issues with mental health, is the imbalance between working and the working environment, and then also the leisure time and the self-care, making sure that you take time for yourself, taking that, even if it's 10 minutes, spending time. So for me, I always spend time every morning. I have 4 kids, so I have spent an hour at least just in my own time, my morning routine. I go through, do some exercises, and then I learn something new. That's my morning routine. That literally, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I just value that time to myself so much now. And there's been so many, visions and inspirations and things that have come out of that time, when we take time to just do nothing and step back and allow ourselves to just be instead of do. So I highly recommend taking that time to just be, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and take that time for yourself.
I think that's really important too. I think if we don't have that regroup time, that we really start depleting our batteries really heavily. And then when that battery is depleted, I think that's when the extra pressure starts to really weigh down on us. I know I have an excellent morning routine that I really appreciate as well. I don't have 4 children. I have a grown son, so I don't have to deal with those things anymore. But that's not to say that even if you don't have the family and all of those kinds of things, we will tend to create the busyness in our lives anyways. And so do you have any suggestions regarding, okay, let's go here. I know that one of your books is Love Is a Guide to Powerful Love. Now, I know you're a mental health advocate and all of those kinds of things. So I totally see where love fits into supporting ourselves with our mental health. So I'd really love to hear a little bit about your book and what kind of bites we could actually get from your book that can support us as business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So this book, I just finished writing it. It took over two years to write. It's 33 chapters, all about real conversations around love. It's not just the fairy tale, you think about love, romantic love, that type of thing. It's, things that not a lot of people really are comfortable discussing. Like what happens if you, grow up in a family where you didn't receive the love that you needed, and you grow up, and how do you learn to love when you haven't necessarily had that role model in your life that's just shown you how to love. So there's many things I went through. Actually did an experiment being a geologist and a scientist. I wanted to prove the power of love, and me and my kids actually planted pea plants in pots. And all the experiments were, the controls were exactly the same between 2 different pots, except for the only thing that was different was there was a note on the outside of one that said, love, and one on the other one that said hate. And every morning we would, pray love over the one, saying, I love you. And the other one, like, we hate you, you're disgusting. You don't want to try you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to die and wither up, and all of these things. And it's amazing because a few weeks later, the one plant was like literally thriving, had peas, all of, shoots, flowers. The other one was about this big and started withering up and ended up dying and didn't even produce any type of peas whatsoever. So it was a massive realization for me to see, the power of love, and simply what that did for those pea plants. What does that do for us as leaders, for ourselves? For, if we have thoughts, self-sabotaging thoughts that go through our mind of, you're not good enough, and who do you think you are? You're not a writer. I wrote my first book. I never, ever imagined writing a book. I never wanted to write a book. I never looked at myself as a writer. So I had these voices, even with my first book, which was Uncover Your Purpose. You're not a writer. You don't have time to write a book. Who do you? I had those voices going through my mind too. And I think a lot of the times, if you don't check that, you can take that as your truth. And it's just these lies that creep in that try to prevent you from really stepping into that power of who you are. So yeah, the love book is extremely powerful. The concepts talks about, why, why love is the most greatest frequency on our entire planet, and perceptions of love. I went from, all the way all the way 4 years old, all the way up to 80 some, preschool age, all the way up to elderly. You talk to them and ask them what love meant to them. So it talks about, perceptions of love and how it changes throughout time. Everything, like how our absence makes our heart go fonder. I talked about animals and how we can learn empathy and compassion and various things from animals, and various things like that in our world. So there's so much content. It's hard to just pick a few things out and pick some nuggets out there. But I think the biggest thing is that love is extremely powerful, and we as leaders need to really focus on, love right now. And I say this in my book too. Love is just simply our fear. So when we have fear in general in life, right, we all have fear that creeps in. Simply, all it is just love turned upside down. So if you feel fear creeping in, if you feel afraid about something, I challenge you just to drop into your heart and just to feel love instead. And when you feel love, there's no room for fear. It's like the whole idea of walking into a dark room, turning the light on. So fear is like the dark. Love is like the light, right? So where love is, fear cannot exist.
Okay, that makes sense. And some of what you were sharing kind of reminds me of the Hidden Messages in Water by Dr. Emoto, I think his name is. I'm going by memory. I hope I got that right.
Yes.
Because I've done a similar experiment with water, having one glass of water sitting over here, way far away from me, and then having another glass of water and, praying into it and saying, I love you and all of that kind of thing. And then tasting the water side by side. And there's a difference in the mouthfeel, the taste, the sweetness, all of that. And it was from the exact same tap. So that was kind of interesting. And what I'm also hearing is that that level of kindness for ourselves is really important as we're building our business, because that the fear could almost be like a crack in your battery, where your power, your energy, and everything starts leaking out of that spot. Versus if your battery is fully healthy and you're loving yourself the way you're supposed to be, and kind of like the love a dog gives us, right? Not the conditional love of, I will love myself when I earn this amount of money, or I will love myself when I get this thing done. But, looking in the mirror, and it's kind of like that dog coming up to us and tails wagging the minute they see you. It's like, you're so awesome. That kind of love.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's about being authentic with yourself and vulnerable and being real, right? When we say love, it's like speaking every word that you speak. Make sure that you speak it, authentically. Make sure you speak it from your heart. Make sure that you open your hearts to people and to yourself first, right? It's the whole idea of, you can't help somebody else in business until you've helped yourself first, right? It's hard to help somebody else when you haven't experienced something yourself. So if you're walking around, actually having self-sabotage thoughts inside of you, but yet you're trying to, extend love to everybody else, it's going to be very difficult because you don't feel that for yourself first. And I always say, have self-love and compassion for yourself first, because many times as leaders, we give so much to everybody else and we forget to, create the balance of giving and receiving, right? And how important that is. And I see that quite often in my clients and I don't know, a lot of your listeners might not have heard this before, but the front part of your heart is the giving part of your heart, and the back side of your heart is actually the receiving part of your heart. And most people, and especially women, I'm speaking more along the line of women entrepreneurs, simply because of how our society is and the stigma that, we're brought up around mental health and in general as leaders, is the back side of our heart is very closed off. It's very dark, because we're taught as women in particular, especially as leaders, to give, And then it's bad to receive anything. If you receive something, that's not good, right? You can't receive too much. But I want to challenge all the women, all the leaders on here in general that are open to hearing it, to really open your heart to receive all of the blessings, all of the infinite possibilities that are out there. Because when you take time to step back and just be and surrender all control of all that, the holding on tightly to things in our life, that's when miracles and that's when amazing things start happening into your life. And I can attest to this thousands and thousands of times in my own life. I used to be, okay, I've already surrendered. I'm not controlling anything. And then the universe or God or whatever you believe in would come and show me, oh, actually you're surrendered over here. But what about over here? You forgot about over here. So it's like when we're surrendered and when we're letting go, make sure that you let go of all of it, not just certain pieces of it. And it's again, surrendering is layers like an onion. It's not just, okay, I've surrendered. Okay, I've let go. It's like, okay, I've surrendered. I let go. Now I need to let go deeper and go deeper and go deeper and continue to let go. It's a process. It's a journey. It's not just something that happens in a minute, in a day. And then it's like a journey that we continually every morning choose to continue to surrender and to let go and to allow those, those miracles and blessings to come in every day.
You were putting up your fist when you were talking about hanging on to things. And that visual is so clear because it's like, okay, my hand is not open to receive anything. Not even close. I can't receive anything. If I were to try and pour water into my hand, it would just roll off of it. If I were to, have money dropping onto my hand, it would just bounce off of it. I wouldn't be able to open my hand. And then, you were saying about receiving or releasing. I've released this. I've surrendered this. Well, that'd be like, I surrendered one finger. Isn't that enough?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it's like full on open. And I think we get a little bit scared about being full on open. Because then we're vulnerable. And then there's an opportunity to be hurt. There's an opportunity to be misunderstood and those kinds of things. And those can be pretty scary. But those are also, I may get hurt once, but I may get loved on 100 times. And do I really want to release the possibility of being loved on 100 times because I might get hurt once?
Exactly. And it's about letting go of the things that no longer serve you in your life to make way for the things that are meant to be there, right? When we let go of those things that aren't, whether that's I just had to let go of a bunch of stuff just in December last year that weren't completely aligned with my own, because we have mission statements as business owners. But what business owners and entrepreneurs forget about is, what is your mission statement for yourself, right? What are your own values? What are your own, things that you have that you probably, everything that comes towards you. And this is what I do. Everything that comes towards me, whether that's an opportunity, whether that's, a speaking engagement, whether it's, a friend or somebody wanting to speak, I always come back and I check it to my 5 things that I have, my mission statement towards myself. And if I have at least 4 of the 5 that are checked off, it's something I move towards. And if not, it's something I say, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm honored. But, there's somebody else here that you need to, you need to move towards them, because and I believe there's people that all of us are meant to help. Right? The gifts that we have that we're given are meant to help only specific certain people. So there's no need. I feel really strongly to say that there's no need for competition. There's no need for any of the, pedestals, I'm better than you, you're up here, I'm down here. It's like, I look at everybody, doesn't matter who you are. I work with homeless people at a homeless shelter right now I'm working with in New York City. Everybody is one to me. We're all connected through love. We're all connected through our hearts. We're all people. We all go through, hills and valleys and peaks in our life. We've all gone through struggles. We're all going through struggles. There's not one person right now that isn't going through some sort of mental health struggle. So I just bring compassion to everybody listening and let them know that you're not alone, and that what you're going through, just make sure to reach out to somebody that you trust for help.
Hey there, it's Terri Levine. I just wanted to pop in for just a moment as you're listening here to Heart-repreneur Radio and watching Heart-repreneur TV. We have so many new and exciting things going on. So you can watch a free masterclass. Highly recommend to get a conveyor belt of qualified prospects. That's at TL, like Terri Levine, tlwebinar.com. Head over there, enjoy it, keep listening and sharing the show.
So I want to make sure that our listeners have an opportunity to connect to you. So can you share what the best website is for them to be able to connect to you and your work?
For sure. Yeah. You can just go to www.nadenejoy.com, or you can send me an email at nadine@nadenejoy.com.
Perfect. Okay. So you said a couple of things that I think are really valuable. One of them was about competition. And, it's kind of cool because, so my son is a musician, and one of his songs, with his friend, they have a group together. One of his songs is about competition. There is a young musician that was in competition for them. And, my son, one of the lyrics was, there's room for the team. Right. And I'm like,
that. Yeah,
that is so cool. It's so cool when we see our young people growing that thought of, there's more than enough here for all of us. We don't have to be in competition because this is an abundant and expansive world.
Exactly. And I always say, like, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? The people that are meant to be in your life will come, and there will be the people that will be your supporters and your biggest fans. And those are the people that you want to be surrounded with. And if there's people that come in your life that aren't necessarily your big supporters, I always just say, just bless them and love them. And it's fine. And I always look at if anybody does come my way. And to be honest, there's not, many people that do, because I always put that out there that I just want to be surrounded by people that are amazing and filled with love and graciousness and compassion and humility and all of these things. So, but if there happens to be somebody that comes that, might be jealous or might have these lower vibrational frequencies or surrounding them because of the things that they haven't dealt with, it's always a blessing. And I always say, thank you so much for coming and for bringing that to my attention. And I'm so happy to hear that there's, something triggering inside of you, because I always look at that as an opportunity for them to heal. If they're being triggered in some way by something I've said or something I've done, I'm doing my job. If I'm not triggering anybody, I'm not doing what I'm meant to do, because I'm not helping them heal and move past their struggles. So I challenge, if anybody's being triggered by anything I'm saying, I'm just welcoming it and blessing you and just praying for you that all of that will be released and you will move to a brand new level of where you're meant to be.
That's awesome. I know in my previous business, that was actually my indicator of where to go. If I had somebody that I was connecting with that triggered that competition inside of me, I'm like, okay, I'm not listening to that. I'm going straight for that person because there's something there for me. And, some of those ended up being the most amazing friendships and collaborations, simply because I didn't listen to that little, green-eyed monster that was getting at me. And it spoke more to something inside of me and not that person. And so by me moving forward to it, it was like, okay, I'm doing something about what's inside of me. I really did like what you shared just a few moments ago about having a personal mission statement. As what I heard is you use it as a filter to support you with choices. Did I hear that accurately?
Exactly.
So what are some of the things that we would want to put in a personal mission statement versus our business mission statement?
Yeah. So for mine, I put a lot of my missions and my values, right? My personal values, right? So it would be different than a mission statement for a business, which would be related to your business. If you have staff, if you have people that are also involved, right, that you want to make sure that is in that for them. But for me, like, I have like certain things that I always want to be around, people who are, humble, right? Humble people. So that's one of mine. And honesty, right, might be another one. This is just personal values. Another one is, again, this never would have been on mine previously, but is writing. So any opportunity for writing or being able to share my gifts through writing and to help people heal that way, that's one of mine right now that I have on mine. And I think it changes too, right? What you have right now might not necessarily be what it's going to be even in 6 months from now, because we continually grow and evolve and, become that better version of ourselves we can be. So mine's changed several times. And as we up level ourselves and our frequency and, where we're at, and our goals kind of change and shift as we grow, our mission statement will also change with us. So it's important to reevaluate it on a regular basis. I always take mine every month, once a month, and sit back and say, okay, are these all the things that are the most important to me? And they might still be important, but some of them might fall off as being the most important, and new ones might come in.
Interesting. Okay. So you reevaluate your mission statement on a monthly basis. So even if we were to do it quarterly, something like that would be of value for us. I really like that. I think that, honestly, I think if we had a mission statement for ourselves, I think that would be one of the most supportive things we can do for our mental health as business owners and entrepreneurs. I think that's a super valuable tool.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing too, I just wanted to mention really quickly is perfectionism. And I lived in this zone for basically 24 years of my life. So from the time I was 4 years old, where I basically chose to repress all of my gifts based on the fact that I felt different from everybody else, to the time when I was 28 years old as a geologist, where I got sick and almost died. And that was, I lived that zone of the illusion that perfectionism brings to our life that stops us most times and creates procrastination and all of these stress and added mental health issues in our lives. And I just wanted to say, instead of focusing on perfectionism, I challenge everybody listening to focus on just doing your best. Just do your best, do the best that you can do. And again, let go of perfectionism once and for all, because you'll never attain it. Trust me, I lived there, and it's not a good place to be in.
Yes. Well, because I think what I heard there, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, and you brought up your personal experience, because what I'm hearing is, well, that perfectionism is a battery leak.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
And then when we've got a crack in our battery, that is where we continuously deplete. And if we don't do something about it, then we get to those, mental health issues, physical health issues, because our body's going to start talking to us the same way our mind has been. So I think that's super important. So we're actually at the end of our time. And so Nadene, I really want you again to share the best way for our listeners to connect with you. And that is?
So you can just go to my website, www.nadenejoy.com, or email me at nadene@nadenejoy.com. Okay.
And Nadene is spelled Nadene, and Joy is Joy. And they could probably find you on a variety of social media as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I'm on, LinkedIn is probably the most up-to-date to get a hold of me on. I am on Facebook and Instagram, but just not as often, and I tend to be on LinkedIn more these days. So
okay.
Yes, that would be great.
Perfect. Thank you, Nadene, for coming and sharing your tips with us. I think I know I pulled a couple of really good juicy ones out of there for myself. And it was a great reminder as well, to love myself the same way that, our furry friends love us, with complete acceptance and without any judgments or needs or requirements or anything like that. And I think that's super important. And I love the idea of a personal mission statement. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I want to thank our listeners for coming and joining us. I hope you found value in this, and we'd love to hear your feedback on what you got out of our shows. Please subscribe, like, and leave us those 5-star reviews. And don't forget to head over to Facebook and look for Heart-repreneurs with Terri Levine, where you can hang out with all of us heart-based entrepreneurs and business owners and connect with like minds. Thanks, and have an absolutely fantastic day.
You've been listening to Heart-repreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart, with your host, Terri Levine. This show is produced every week for your enjoyment and education. To make sure you never miss a single show, add us to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also read Terri's latest blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com heartrepreneurradio.com/blog, or follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/heartrepreneur Terri Levine. Your questions and comments are always welcome and appreciated. Send them to Terri on either Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for listening.